All right, so back to the beehive here. I've got a few things to finish up. It shouldn't take me too long, but a few little things. So one of the things that I hadn't figured out yet was how I was going to get the lid to stay open without falling over the back. So I needed some way to have it stop and stay here. I tried to do some chains and different things, but they interfered with the top bars, and so I'll show you what I ended up doing to resolve this issue. All right, so I actually got this idea from Jon Peters. He has a YouTube channel as well, check that out. He did a top bar beehive, and I've gotten some of the design and some of the ideas of my hive from his and many others that I've watched. But he did something similar to this, and basically what I did was just attach these little support triangles on the back side of the hive here. And so when we open the lid, it gives it a place to rest, and it works very well. And it kind of just sits there, and these are screwed directly into the end of the hive there, so it's very sturdy. You know, it's only going to be temporarily opened for cleaning and checking and things like that, so it's not going to have to stay open here and support, like, you know, heavy winds or anything. But this works a lot better than anything else that I've come up with so far. So I'll just basically put a little coat of paint on these or some spray lacquer to protect them, and we'll be done with this. Okay, so I've got all of my top bars here, obviously made out of pallets, and the one disadvantage of pallet is that, using pallet wood, is that it has, I've got nail heads and things like that in here, so I need to clean all these up because I'm going to run them through the table saw. I'm also going to sand these down just kind of very roughly, just to kind of smooth them out a little bit, and then I'm going to be using the kerf of the table saw to put a line all the way down the middle that I'm going to attach my comb starters to, and I'm also going to be putting some pieces on the end here, just with some brad nails or some wood glue, and this is just going to help to keep the top bars lined up on the actual hive. Okay, so I have a bunch of these little pieces of wood left over from the pallets when I ripped them all down to our 1.5 inch size here. And they just happen to all be the same exact size because I cleaned up one of the edges of all the pallet wood first. So this is what I'm using to be the base for the honeycomb on each top bar. So I've cut that kerf in the, or that table saw kerf there in the top bars, and then these pieces just fit right into the kerf of the saw with a little bit of wood glue. Some of them are a bit tight, so I'm just tapping them in there with a rubber mallet, and that should secure that in there tightly and give the bees a good foundation to start their honeycomb on. Okay, so I've got my follower boards here, and I've got these this top rail or top bar that I screwed up here. I cut the kerf on the wrong side, or cut the slot on the wrong side of it. So we'll use this for one of our end pieces here. This follower board just helps us keep the bees where we want them to be, and you can move this down and add more top bars as the bees kind of fill it in with comb, and so this is just a divider kind of here. So I'm just trying to get this as centered as possible, and pre-drilling holes and trying to hit this 1/2-inch plywood just right here. I've had mixed luck so far, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so because I'm dealing with, the hive isn't perfectly square because I've got all scrap wood and stuff here, and so some of it was a little bit warped, so, you know, this the distance here might be a little bit more than this distance right here, and so these follower boards, there's kind of a gap on the edges and at the bottom in certain areas where probably big enough for the bees to start sneaking through, and I don't want them, you know, doing things where I don't want them to, so I'm going to try to add a little bit of this weather stripping here, and I'm going to see how this will work. I picked this up on sale at Ace Hardware for like $1 or something, so I may have to use some better adhesive, but it's just a pretty cheap V-shaped weather seal, so hopefully that will kind of close the gap between here. I'm sure the bees can get through there if they want to, but the point is they probably won't need to, so we'll see how well it works. Otherwise I'll have to figure something else out. Beehive is in place and ready for bees, as far as I can tell anyway. I've got all mulch around the area here to hopefully keep the grass down back here. I don't want to bring a string trimmer in here if I don't have to and bother the hive. So, but I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. I mean, the project was essentially pretty close to free. I mean, I bought a few hinges and brackets and stuff and a piece of plywood. I had spray lacquer and I had some paint laying around from other stuff, so I didn't really buy that. So, you know, it's pretty close to, about as close to free as you can get. But I really like the door supports that we made here. That's really working well. The placement of the hive I put back. This is at the back of our yard here, and then just some bushes and things. And this fence is actually owned by the township. This property is all township property. There's a cemetery down there that I think this was like future expansion of the cemetery. So nothing will be here. Neighbors are, no neighbors or anything around, and nice open field they have lots of flowers and things out here all the time, blooming at different times of the year. And I have the entrance faced that way. So I hopefully this wire mesh fence won't be an issue. I think the bees should be able to fly through or up and over around. I'm hoping that's not a problem. I won't mess with their navigation or anything. So if it is, we'll have to move it. But so this looks like a good area. This is south, and so the hive's here. The sun rises over here. Nice warm sun on the hive in the morning, and then as we go through the day, the sun is midday all up here and covered by all the bushes and trees and things like that. Sun kind of goes down over this way, so it will not get direct sunlight in the middle of the day, which I think will be nice to not have issues with overheating or anything. So a couple changes that I did make to the original design that I had talked about. I had originally planned to have the bottom open, which it does open, but I was going to put wire mesh across the bottom. And again, that was for ventilation, I've heard people talk about, but my local beekeepers here, where I'm getting our bees from, they did not seem to think that was an issue. And bees in nature don't really have an opening bottom in their log or wherever they are, so they tend to regulate the temperature of the hive, and they like it kind of warm. So up here in Michigan, I think I'm gonna skip that, and I don't think I'm gonna worry about that feature of this hive. So we'll see how it goes though. Follower boards work out pretty well. I think I won't have any issues with them. The feeder is back here, and so I've got my follower board here, and I've got access to the feeder. My lid fell off this one, but this gives us access to the feeder, so I had to notch these out so I can get the jars in and out without bothering the hive. The bees can get underneath this little board here and get at the bottoms of these jars, so I'll poke holes in the bottom of these, and then there'll be sugar syrup in here, and it will just kind of drip off the bottom there, and then the bees have access to that through the little holes in the bottom. So I think that will work out pretty well. I did decide to skip the little pieces of wood I was going to put on the end of these to keep these centered. I just don't think it's necessary. I think I can center them pretty easily by eye, and the lid seems to close pretty well without them, so I'm going to skip that feature as well. But excited, we get our bees tomorrow or the next day. I have to work, so not sure how I'm going to get bees and get them put in here and do a video in between working, but hey, we'll figure it out, right? Looks like I have to trim the bush back a little bit. It's kind of in the way. But couldn't be happier with the whole hive here. I think it's in a good spot, and we're excited. The whole bee thing is going to start a new chapter for us. So you'll see a lot of bee videos, I'm sure, this summer, and we'll be checking the hive, and we'll show you the progress. Hopefully we can keep them alive through the winter and get some honey and beeswax and all kinds of stuff you can do with that. So very excited. But I'd love to hear your feedback, guys. Comments below, please hit thumbs up, and subscribe if you'd like to follow along. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. As always, thanks for watching. Have a good one.